What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today we're back with episode 4, chapter 4 of the United States series. In the previous episode, we are now suffering a recession. Recession has enveloped the United States. So in this episode, essentially what we are going to do, I was pretty excited for this one to see how this one goes. But in this episode, what else are we going to do except fix America's shattered economy? Even though I was the one that somewhat shattered the economy, but in any way, I am the one that has to fix it. So first off, the first thing that we're going to be going over is that we are going to address some of the things that are affecting this economy. In this economy, essentially what is happening is that a tax on industrial pollution is biting my ass off. So essentially what this is doing, this is killing my economy more than I essentially thought. I did not think that the tax on industrial pollution would have any adverse effects on the economy, and I really didn't in the previous versions of this game. So I believe I'm gonna have to go over some of the previous patch notes that we've been getting, in which that the industrial pollution tax has more of an adverse effect on the economy. If we go over to energy, essentially what we're looking for is to see whether the oil and gas sectors are having more financial troubles in the event of this industrial pollution tax. So if we go over to fossil electricity, for example, let's see how this sector is doing. The production seems to be the same, but if we go over to sales, we're producing more sales within the fossil electricity sector, $623 billion in the previous year, and then $673 billion in this year. So then over to profits, we're doing better in terms of profits, and then our productivity index has gone up in turn. So we were at 0.745, and then now we're at 1.097. We're about to hit 1.1 in terms of the productivity index. Again, if you don't know what the productivity index is, the productivity index is directly linked to how efficient your sales and your profits are. So the higher your profits are in correlation to your sales, the higher your productivity index is going to be. So that's something that I did figure out very recently. So good on that for me to figure out one of the hardest metrics in this game. If we look at income tax, we're producing more in terms of income tax, and we're employing more in terms of people. So we did employ, well, actually we did lose 1,000 people. It looks like we're less than 1,000. Looks about 500 people that we have lost in manpower terms. Looks like if we look at our sale price, so it looks like that the purchase price has gone down, and then the price in total was about $300.99, and then now it's dropped about $30. Solar power, again, we're actually doing a little bit worse, but we are making about $1 billion more in sales, or $500 million more in sales, and then we are making about, it looks like about $100 million more, less than $100 million, about $90 million more in profits. And then the productivity index is going down. That's for solar electricity. Fuel, what are we doing over here for fuel? Let's look at our fuel production. Our fuel production is about the same, and then we are consuming less, so then our trade balance is going up. So I think it's our trade balance that's really hurting us the most. If we go over to natural gas, let's see what we're doing here in natural gas. We're making about more than we did in the previous year in terms of natural gas sales, but our trade balance is going down for natural gas. But then if we go over to oil, trade balance is still going down for oil, so that is good. And then we're making more in sales, and then more. We're actually look at this. We have made more in sales, $706 billion in the previous year, almost $720 billion this year. So if you look over at profits, we were making $259 billion in profits, but now we're losing about $5 or $9 billion in profit. But our productivity index has still gone up. It was 1.2 in 2020, and it is now 1.5 in 2021. We are making less in income tax according to oil. So one of the things that I'm going to do, you're going to see one of the longest time lapses in this game. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to go on an oil spending spree. We do have a contract for oil that should be importing from Mexico. We should have a oil contract that is worth about maybe more than $10 billion, maybe about $10-20 billion, and we're importing that from Mexico. So what we're going to do, we're going to go on a oil spree, and it's going to be very contradictory in terms of Joe Biden's administration. But the reason I'm doing this is to try to save our economy, and if we are energy sufficient, then essentially what we are going to do is we're going to be able to produce our own electricity, our own oil, our own natural gas, and that in turn helps the economy. If that does not help the economy, and then we are still doing bad in terms of our GDP, we're going to try to get our GDP up to about up above maybe $19 trillion in this episode. If we cannot do that, we're also going to be going in, we're going to be probably increasing subsidies to some of the sectors that we have. We're going to try to get our food sector to get up and running. We're going to try to, we're probably going to spend more than $1 billion on our agricultural sector alone. And by $1 billion, I'm saying we're going to give $1 billion in subsidies to each sector. So anyway, let's go ahead and build all these oil facilities, and I'll see you guys there.
I'm out here on my own with a million things to say, describing how I felt when I left you yesterday. I sat out on the street that I've given so much for, yet the miles in between make me miss you even more. And still I seem to smile, picturing your face, the passion in your eyes, the warmth of your embrace. It shivers down my spine when I realize how I've changed. Out here on this road, in this rock star search for fame. The days and nights roll on, lonesome, long and cold. The hands of time, they hold strong, like a love that keeps hanging on. I'd rather fall from grace than live our lives apart. Just remember when matters most, that our love has come this far. And still I seem to smile, picturing your face, the passion in your eyes, the warmth of your embrace. It shivers down my spine, realizing how I've changed. So I'm out here on this road, and here's the song I say. but your love has made me see what I want to be, what I want my name to stand for. When I'm up here on this stage, I may wind up famous, I might wind up wrong, but in the end my love for you will never stop. So don't you see, you're all I need, you're the greatest change in me. Yeah, yeah. You're the greatest change in me. So can you see, you're all I'll ever need, and yes, that's good enough for me.
Alright, and I am back, and that was quite the process of going through. Essentially, what I just did is that I built about 3 more oil platforms in the search for resources. I built 3 more oil platforms in the Gulf of Mexico, just off of the coast of Texas. Have about 3 more that are under construction over here. And then I went down to shale, oil, and gas. And I'm going to increase my production of these significantly. Essentially, this is, for one, going to increase my growth, and then 2, it's also going to allow me to become self-sufficient in the resources that I need to power my economy. The United States is one of the biggest consumers of energy in the world, so one of the biggest problem solvers for that is whenever you develop your own resources. So essentially what my goal is for here, I just want to make sure that I am able to provide myself with my own American-made oil and natural gas. If I go down to natural gas, and this is a possible thing, I'm only producing about 29% of the world's production, and I'm consuming about 34% of the world's production. Going over to oil, I am producing 15% of the world's production, and then consuming about 22% of the world's consumption of this product. So one of the best ideas for this is, for one, make sure that if you subsidize either of these, I think whichever one you're developing the most is the one that you should give some subsidies. We're going to go over to non-conventional gas, and we're going to go ahead and give them about $2.5 billion, not 25 billion. We're going to give them $2.5 billion worth of subsidies. We are producing about 96% of the world's production of a non-conventional gas. Let's go over to non-conventional oil, which we have a partial nationalization over. How much would it cost? It would cost about $700 billion if I wanted to nationalize non-conventional oil entirely, but that would get me about $84 billion worth of money in my nationalized sector form. If we go over here, let's go ahead and give it about $500 million more than gas. Well, let's go over to non-conventional gas, and then let's give you about let's do $5 billion. We're going to do $5 billion for natural gas. That will improve our situation a lot. If we go over to, again, this is a very ironic. I know for a fact that Joe Biden does not want to do this for oil and natural gas. This is more of a gameplay move. Joe Biden would definitely not do this in terms of that, because for one, he wants to end the subsidies that the federal government gives to the oil companies, and then 2, he also wants to end our reliance on oil and natural gas entirely, and he wants to phase it out. Not necessarily, he doesn't want to really kill it in his administration, but he does want to start the process of phasing out oil, and that is absolutely my goal as well. But the way we're going to end our reliance on fuel is we're going to go over here to transportation, and we're going to be paying attention to this number right here. We're going to be watchful about how much percentage of the United States population has electric vehicles, and we're going to be giving more subsidies over to the electric vehicle sectors, and then we're going to increase the amount of that. We also need to make sure that we have a sufficient amount of power plants to make sure that we are able to power everything like that, because one of the downsides of this is that if you are increasing the number of electric vehicles that you have in your country, but then you have a very primarily fossil fuel based economy, then that kind of like it kind of cancels out the reason of you even getting an electric vehicle in the first place, because you're supposed to be doing that to save the environment. But if you're saving the environment by driving an electric vehicle, but then that electric vehicle is being powered by fossil fuels, then that really doesn't make sense. So if we go over to construction, let's go over to secondary highways, and let's go ahead and pump about $2.5 billion into the secondary highway program. We're gonna increase the amount of secondary highways that we have in this country, and the reason we're doing this is to instigate growth. One of the biggest issues that we have right now is that we need to create growth in any sort of way possible. Another way I'm going to do this is we're going to embark on a couple of small scale but large scale, high-speed rail projects. There's going to be a couple of places that I'm going to be concentrating on. There are going to be 3 places I'm going to concentrate on. The first one is going to be California. California has one of the most integrated economies in the United States. So if you can connect, and one of the things that I do as the United States, I like to connect the largest cities in the state of California. So if we do a San Francisco to Los Angeles line, that would make sense because you're connecting two of the largest cities in the state. The second area that I'm going to be concentrating on is going to be Texas. The reason that I was talking about California earlier is because California does have a real-life high-speed rail system that they are developing as of right now. It is called California High-Speed Rail. The cities that I talked about connecting in California in the game are exactly the cities that they want to connect, minus give or take a couple of cities, including the city of Anaheim, which is just south of Los Angeles. I'm surprised they put Long Beach in here, except they didn't put Anaheim anywhere around here, so that kind of sucks. Maybe Los Angeles, yeah, San Diego, yeah, they don't have Anaheim in this game. But then the second area that I'm going to be concentrating on is going to be Texas. Texas right now wants to deploy a brand new high-speed rail system, for one that is privately funded. The difference between the Texas system and then the California system is that California's is completely funded by the state government, which also is getting some additional federal funds from the federal government, which the Trump administration and I think the Biden administration will continue to. Trump administration is starting to pull funding from the California high-speed rail network, but the Biden administration, I think, would probably want to accelerate that with the power of the federal government. So I haven't heard anything about Biden's stance on the California high-speed rail system, but with the Texas high-speed rail system, the plan is to connect some of the largest cities in the state of Texas, which is Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, and then Houston. This is what is going to be known as the Texas Triangle, or it is already known as the Texas Triangle. So if we go over to transportation, and then we're going to come over here, and the reason I'm making a high-speed rail system instead of a hyperloop is because high-speed rail, for one, can carry more people, it would instigate more growth, and is a little bit more expensive than the hyperloop, but then it makes more sense, especially with how large the United States is. Hyperloops are cheaper than high-speed rails, but I am also accepting the fact that it costs more, mainly because of just the efficiency of high-speed rail. And then plus, in the game, we also do have a couple of more research factors that we can invest into that will improve the high-speed rail system that you already have in your country. Or I think it either improves it, or it also gives you just more growth. I think that's all that research does, is just it gives you more economic growth. So anyway, let's go ahead and connect Dallas. And we're gonna make this in our own way. Have a couple of different things right here, and then let's go ahead and connect Dallas to Houston. That is going to cost $3.2 billion over the next year, and then $16.3 billion over the next 5 years. It'll be about 15 months before we can get that done. So let's go ahead and increase the amount of manpower that we have for it. And let's go for a budget limit of about $52 billion. So it'll be about $10.4 billion over the next year, and then $52 billion over the next 5 years. I think we can afford that for right now. That'll be done in about 6 months. Can we go for about 25? No, let's go for 22. I'm gonna do 22 people per mile, and that will be done again in 6 months. The start of construction will commence the day of. So let's go ahead and confirm this. And then for California, so we're going to go ahead and build 2 high-speed rail lines for right now. We're going to do Dallas to Houston, and then for here, let's go ahead and do San Francisco. We're not going to do San Jose. We're going to loop around San Jose, and then we're going to stretch it down all the way. Let's do around here. It's going to skim along the coast, and then it's going to connect directly to Los Angeles. That'll be about $28 billion. That is 667 miles, about 6,343 manpower are needed just for the base. So if we do, can we do 20 people per mile? That'll be $15 billion over the next year, $75 billion over the next 5 years, and that'll be done in about less than a year. So it'll be done by about July of 2022. So that'll be just before the midterms. I think we could do that. That'll be, again, $15.2 billion over the next year, and then $75.76 billion over the next 5 years. I think this is going to be the largest cost index that we are going to adopt in this administration for right now, at least before the midterms. Let's go ahead and then we will accept that job. So let's go to the next day, see what the Secretary of Transportation has to say about it. We have national protests all over the country, anti-ecology policy. That's kind of funny. I'm literally investing in not using cars, and you guys are protesting about it. How many people do we have protesting? 31,000 people across the country. We don't have to worry about that. Let's go over to the Dallas-Houston high-speed rail line. Construction has already begun. We can already draw some conclusions. First of all, this is good for national tourism, which will benefit from this new infrastructure. And then lastly, the cities chosen for the train stations are excellent choices and will contribute to their region's development. That is the Dallas-Houston high-speed train line. And then if we go over to the San Francisco-Los Angeles line, the construction has begun. We can already draw some conclusions. Good for national tourism, which will benefit from its new infrastructure. And then lastly, the cities chosen for the train stations are, again, excellent choices for that, and then will contribute to their region's development. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Tom Cox. Let's go to the next day, see if these protests come to an end. They do. The planet is dying, and you taking part in the general pillage. The planet is in agony, and the government is involved in wholesale looting. This irresponsible policy cannot go on. I am warning you. So that is the warning from the United States Green Coalition Secretary General. Forest fire in Ohio. All people have been compensated for it. Mexico, possible dismantlement of the... See what terrorist group this is? This is the Mexican drug cartels. Yeah, let's go ahead and embark on that, see if we can take them down. That will improve our relations with Mexico if we are able to successfully diminish them or even take them out entirely. Let's go to the next day, see what we can do. Nigeria, possible to looks like we have a partial dismantlement of the terrorist organization in Nigeria. Should improve relations with the Republic. Let's go over to Army. Let's not worry about Army right now. We need to also, we could go for, we have 5 nuclear power plants that are now online, which I think that, yep, that puts our energy surplus at 486 terawatts. Let's go over to finance, see what our economy is doing as of right now. Still a negative growth rate right now. We're still in the middle of a recession. Stock market is hovering just below 14,000 points. We are doing worse right now. Well, we are doing moderately better in terms of our trade balance. We are exporting more. We are exporting about $400 billion more in product, and then in imports, we are doing about $400 billion less in imports. And so I guess that is canceling out. The more that we are exporting, the less that we are importing. So that is better. Let's go over to research and give matter sciences full funding. Let's give energy and environment. See what we can do over here. Let's do one less star in that. That'll be $6 billion. We can do that. And then let's do, what about military funding? Can we do that? No, I think we can hold off from that for now. Human and social sciences, let's go ahead and give you an additional star, and then let's give an additional star over to energy and environment. Go ahead and give that. That'll be at $11 billion. We are not going to increase the industrial pollution tax anymore. Oh, wow. Okay, let's go back, and then let's see. Can I decrease this to 0.15? 1.15. Can we do that? Like, just inch it down. What I really need to do, I need to inch this down in order to instigate more growth, especially in my energy sector. That'll cut about $42 billion from the economy, but I think we could add that to a reform. Well, let's see Parliament's position on it. Democrats will not like it, but Republicans will be for it. So if we could, I think we could afford that for right now. Let's go ahead and confirm. That will expand our deficit just a tiny bit, but again, we need to expand our growth. We could. No, I'm not gonna risk. It is intended to discourage the use of fossil fuels to bring about gradual changes in behaviors and processes of manufacturers, companies, and private citizens. Therefore, the amount should increase over the years to align with the environmental objectives. In France, it is included in various energy taxes. Let's go to here. I think my payroll taxes and my company taxes are low enough. So I don't need to mess with those anymore. I really need to concentrate on the tax on industrial pollution. To lower these taxes, we could do a 0.5% decrease for the middle class, and then let's do 0.5% decrease in the lower brackets, and then that will cut about $31 billion. We need to go back, and then we have about $40 billion and then $70 billion that we need to make up from somewhere. If we are able to make this up, hopefully we can do that. Or maybe after we pass these bills, the way we make it back is through economic growth, because we just need to we need to increase our growth. If we can increase our growth from where it's at right now, our economy will be performing way better than it is right now. So let's introduce that as a law. Let's go ahead and confirm that. That'll be my first tax decrease in this administration, so that will help us out here. Let's go ahead and accept that. People like that purchasing power, but people really do not like the public finances that we are doing. Let's continue to go, and then let me see. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the completion of most of these facilities. They're only gonna take about 40 days, and that's what I needed to talk about earlier, is that I built a lot of them. So we have about 90 different facilities over here, and then we have about 90 facilities for oil, shale oil, and then about 50 facilities for natural gas. So I think I did address that, because I talked about the oil wells, and I did build a lot of them. So obviously, you guys know that I did build a lot of them. Iraq, let's go ahead and dismantle whatever terrorist organization that is. I really don't care about it. Earthquake in Alaska, we're just getting donations from that, so that's awesome. Official congratulations. My government is pleased with the operation carried out by your government against the Mexican drug cartels. Even if we do not encourage special operations of foreign agents in our country, our nation can only rejoice at the result of the initiative which contribute to the improving of relations between our two populations. So that was a very successful operation against the Mexican drug cartels. Hopefully we can continue to get rid of them as we address other problems in our administration. See, our growth is starting to do worse. We're doing negative 6% growth right now. And this is for the year. Like, I think this is because we're doing so bad right now in terms of the year. Okay, that the tax decrease passed. All right, that helped our growth just a tiny bit. We were just over 6% negative growth, and that helped our economy just a tiny bit. So our GDP increased by about $100 billion. That is good. So this is going to be for the month of August. We're going to see hopefully a increase from our situation right now. Let's go to the end of the month of August. Let's do blah, 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 blah. So this is about the expansion of Russia, let's say against, because of their interference in the previous elections integrity. We have a 9.54% unemployment rate. That is very, very, very bad. Industrial pollution tax has been lowered, so that should help us out. Hopefully that helps us out. Oh wow, we are losing $200 billion in our farming sector. Let's go over here. Let's give them all $1 billion worth of subsidies. That will help us out there. That increased our deficit just a tiny bit, but we need this economic growth. We are going to. This is. I don't know if that's Hamid Karzai. I don't know who is this guy. I've seen him before, but I cannot remember his real life name as of yet. Do we really want to meet with Afghanistan's president though? Okay, let's go ahead and accept it just because we have a military base over there. After not all of the members voted in favor of it, the Russian request to join the G7 countries has been denied. 4.49, so our deficit is doing slightly better. Our growth is doing slightly better. So this is really good news for our economy. Our GDP has slightly increased for the month of August. That is GDP as a world share still continues to go down, but we are still exporting slightly more. We are importing slightly 25, 24. So we're still doing better in terms of imports. So that's better. Again, that's better. Let's get this trade balance below $20 trillion. It's going to be a big goal of mine. Let's see our main production. We have building, housing, and roadway, utility vehicle construction, fuel, chemicals, fossil electricity, coal, sodas. Well, we produce a lot of sodas. Hotel, tourism, and trade, and then plastics and a conventional oil. Conventional oil will probably be very critical to us in the coming months. So let's see what we're doing over here. We have about 10 days before that completes. Secretary of Housing Bernie Sanders says that he has some doubts about the legitimacy of the presence of the Secretary of Labor. So that's kind of funny. See, we still have a lot of people that don't really like each other. So let's go over here. Let's look at my cabinet real quick, and I think I'm gonna switch someone out. Let's go here, Justice. Yeah, we just dismissed the head of the Department of Justice, so let's appoint a new minister. Let's go to Party and Power, and we are going to find not the AOC lookalike, but I'm going to find Tamara Hargis. If you know exactly who this person is, you'll know why I'm putting her in there. This was a former district attorney for the county of San Francisco, so I think that putting her in the position of the Department of Justice will make the most sense for this administration. She actually has a higher approval rating as soon as I appoint her as minister, so great option to throw her into the Justice Department. And someone pointed this out in the first episode of the United States. I did not appoint a single female cabinet member, so it's a completely almost 99% male cabinet. I think we could change out our foreign affairs minister, but I'm not going to replace two ministers in one episode, so I think in the next episode I could go ahead and replace the foreign affairs minister. We could put someone else in there. If you have any suggestions about who I should throw into foreign affairs, except Hillary Clinton, I'm not going to throw her back in there because of what happened in Benghazi, but if you guys have any suggestions about who I should put in where, definitely leave those suggestions down in the comments below. Let's go over to Flushing Meadows Tennis Tournament, outdated. She doesn't really like me, so we'll probably try to improve that situation in the future. Let's go to the next day. Let's go to this meeting with the president of Afghanistan. He wants to sell me some cereals, $369 million contract. That's not going to be sufficient for us, but let's tell him that you need to make an effort in terms of human rights. All right, another thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to bauxite. Let's go ahead and get a couple of contracts lined up for this episode. So what we're going to do is that we're going to go to a couple of different countries, and we're going to ask them for some imports. So for bauxite, I'm immediately, my first choice that I usually want to go to whenever it comes to bauxite, I always go to Brazil. Brazil, I believe, has some of the cheapest prices in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask, actually Brazil doesn't really like me that much. Let's see if we can get a more favorable agreement with another country. So let's go over to production for bauxite, and then let's see, we have Ghana. Oh, we could go to Ghana. Well, I don't know how much they actually have. They make $28 billion in their trade surplus. Yeah, we're gonna have to go to someone else. We're not gonna go to Ghana. We could go to Brazil. That's gonna be my first choice. Jamaica could help us out. No. We could go to India. No, they really hate us. We could go to Greece, or who has the highest trade balance? Australia, Ghana, Brazil. So they have 11%. So I think we could go to Ghana. Let's go to Ghana. Let's go here, Ghana. Wow, they really hate us. You know what? Let's just go to Brazil. We're going to go to Brazil since they slightly like us a little bit more than Ghana does. Let's go to bauxite, and then let's ask for a purchase price slightly above their own. So let's do it at 36. Let's go ahead and send that over to Brazil. Alright, we have now accepted an agreement for bauxite between the United States and the Federative Republic of Brazil. But anyway, this is the terms of the contract. We negotiated a price of $40.75 per ton, and then that will be for a total volume of 6.6 million tons over the next 3 years. Why did I set it for 3 years instead of the, I think it's the maximum is about 5 years. Anything over 5 years for some reason won't ever let you accept it. The reason I did 3 years is just so the renewal of the contract is more frequent. Even though it is a small amount of money, it's only $270 million. It's minimal compared to the size of the economy, but this will supply the entirety of the amount of bauxite that we need. But the only thing is that we're not importing more than we need, because if we want to expand our economy, we need more bauxites, and we don't have any way to produce our own. And another reason is because I'm starting to figure out that negotiating these contracts for anything less than 5 years is probably just better for your economy, and it allows you to kind of like pay attention to your trade more. I mean, this one's going to be done literally just weeks before the election, or just about 2 months before the election of 2024. So that means that I can just, around election time, then I can just renegotiate another contract and then just dismiss the other contract or let it expire. So that is the reason why, because I kind of just time it, I guess, around the elections, or just more frequently than 5 years, because it's just more frequent. It allows you to pay attention to your trade more, etc. So anyway, that is the reason why I set it for less than 5 years. Let's go over here. Electric versus gasoline. To encourage development of electric cars, I would suggest progressively raising the tax on petroleum products. Just like tobacco, this will undoubtedly yield results in the long term, all while filling the state's coffers. Actually, that's a really good idea. That's going to be the way that we're going to get some of the money that we are losing from the tax bills that we are going for. So let's see if we can get this passed. That will pass the House of Representatives and the Senate. And that will fetch us about $12 billion of lost revenue that we got rid of in those tax decreases that we did earlier. So let's go to confirm. Let's confirm that. And then again, that is we're reducing the industrial pollution tax, but we're also encouraging the development of other sectors. So we are encouraging the development and sale of let's go down to the construction of electric automobiles. So if we look, we are doing a little bit better with the trade balance. We are making, we were only making $800 million in sales at the beginning of the game, but now we're making $6.6 billion in sales for this sector. But look at that productivity index. It is 0.23. I mean, we're making $6 billion in profits or in sales, but we're only making $61 million in profits. And the question is, how do you increase your profits? How do you do that? Well, the way you do that is that you go over to your list of involved sectors in a production process or your manufacturing process, and you make sure that you have all of these. You make sure that these sectors need other sectors to be able to produce. For steel, you need things like water supply networks. For electricity, you need power plants. For fuel cell batteries, you need like rare earth oxides, and I think bauxite or something like that, and etc. So it goes. It's a tree. It's a tree that you have, and that is very much interconnected. So pay attention to that. Make sure that you have production of other things. So where we're gonna go do is that we're gonna go to Great Public Bionics. I think, yeah, that's doing a little bit better. We're doing about $3 billion. That should be helping out our GDP. Let's go here, plastic industry. Let's give you about $1 billion worth of subsidies. And again, our deficit is doing a lot better right now, so that means our economy is starting to recover. So let's go over here. Negative growth forecast is 4.7%, but our stock market is going up, so that means our economy is doing a little bit better. I know I'm basing most of my assumptions on how the Dow Jones is doing, but it's more of an immediate effect of how your growth is doing. And if this shoots up, I mean, especially as the United States, it makes a lot more sense. So if this goes anywhere below 15,000, then you're doing bad. If it goes above 15,000 or whatever it was at the beginning of your game, that means you're doing a lot better. Let's see, exportations. Looks like we're still not doing that good in terms of exports. Let's look at our oil production, see what we're doing over here. We're about 2 days from the completion of most of those facilities, so let's go to September the 11th, 2021 is about the 10-year anniversary, or the 20-year anniversary of the September 11th attacks. Then let's go to the next day, and then that will complete most of those facilities. We have a riot in Washington, I believe. Yep, that is because of the fuel tax that we did. So you're always going to have your National Drivers Association. They're always going to come out against you if you ever increase those fuel taxes. Let's do this. X out, X out, X out, X out. Commercial response to the energy production series. Military shoot to kill, so that's better. I mean, I guess we took care of it. Let's go over to energy. Let's go over here, and then let's see what we are doing in terms of oil and natural gas production. If we go over here, let's go to non-conventional gas, and then we are doing. Let's go to natural gas, and we are doing the same. I think it's going to take a little bit for it to directly change. Yeah, our production is going down in oil for some reason. Let's go a couple of more days. Earthquake in Alaska. And there's Kamala Harris. Do that. And then let's see what our economy is doing now. 4.75 negative growth. And our Dow Jones is going down. We're losing in the Dow Jones. And our public finances seems to be a little bit confused. We have another riot right now. All right. I have been recording for an entire hour. That is how serious this situation is with the U.S. economy. I'm trying to fix it, and we are still doing horrible in terms of growth. I think this is going to be one of the longest running recessions that I have ever had to do. Again, do not increase your tax on industrial pollution. That is going to murder your economy. So this is, if I can't fix this situation and I totally effed up on this, then I think I'm gonna have to semi or quasi start over this year. So in the next episode, we're going to continue to lower the industrial pollution tax. We're going to get this down to about 1%. If I wanted to cut this to 1% entirely, that would cut $129 billion from our economy. So we could cut that again, but I'm not gonna do anything as of right now. So we're gonna wait until the next episode. I've been recording for over an hour, so I think this episode is going to be the longest US episode that I made it in a while. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you want to see more episodes like this, definitely leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about the series and what I should do. Should I, and maybe I could do this, maybe, again, this is all because I increased the tax on industrial pollution. Should I restart? Should I start from the beginning, not mess with the industrial pollution tax? Again, this is all my fault. Should I take care of the situation that I created, or should I restart, just start on a clean slate, and then just not mess with the industrial pollution tax? Unless we can touch the industrial pollution tax, but I am not going to increase it as much as I have right now, because it is murdering my economy. It is it is just killing everything that I have right now. So again, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you want to be notified whenever I go live or whenever I make episodes like this, just hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss a single episode from my channel. So again, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.